Welcome for a new edition, The Other Table. Today in English, because we have a very special guest from Croatia. Her name is Ivana Pavic. She is a pathologist. And we also have at the table Maarten Fornerod, and he's an associate professor at Erasmus MC, cell biology. We always start with the coming edition of the Andere Krant. And in this edition there are several articles which have in common that they are about the misuse of the juridical system against people who stand critically towards mainstream policies. One of the mainstream policies were the corona policies last years. And we talk about that today. And also in this edition, there's an article about several general practitioners who stand in front of the State Council because they used off-label medicine to treat corona patients. And Maarten, you attended this session last Monday. Can you tell something about it?
Yeah, that's right. First I have to emphasize that even though I work at Erasmus MC, I'm not speaking on behalf of Erasmus MC. So what I say is just my personal opinion, which is founded in experience. Indeed, so you're talking about misuse of the judicial system. So I'm not completely sure I agree with that word misuse. But there was a case, an appeals case in The Hague of the Raad van State. So there were 3 judges that have to judge the appeal of either the Minister of Health in 2 cases or the physicians, the general practitioners themselves. And it was all about the law. The law of medications, in Dutch is called the Geneesmiddelenwet, Article 86, and how to interpret the freedom of doctors to prescribe off-label and under which conditions general practitioners are allowed or medical doctors are allowed to prescribe off-label. And it is an interesting case because this article, this law, is already in place for many years, I think maybe 10 or 20 years, and never has a medical doctor been prosecuted for off-label prescription of medications, even though like 50% of all medications are given off-label. So it's a very common practice. And then these 2 medications that these doctors prescribed are very innocent, are very safe. It's hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. I mean, these are, so they have less side effects than paracetamol, for example. So, so they're not dangerous drugs at all. But that was not that was not the issue. The issue was whether physicians are free to prescribe off-label, and then the session was all about definitions in the law. You know, what is a protocol? What is a group of doctors that can make such a protocol? Was this protocol in place or not? Do the doctors have to conform the recommendation of the beroepsgroep of the Dutch huisartsen, general practitioner society? So all of these issues, so very detailed questions, and so the doctors made their case. The Minister of Health made her case through a lawyer, claiming that the prosecution was correct because they ignored a clear signal from the Doctors Association that warned against prescribing ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, and then the doctor said, no, but we were the experts, and we knew what we were doing, and we were negotiating with a apotheker. What's the English word?
Sorry, what?
An apotheker.
Pharmacy.
So you have to. So if there's no protocol in place, then you are allowed to prescribe off-label when you convene with the pharmacist.
Yeah.
And they did all of that, but the question is, was there a protocol in place, yes or no, at that moment? And so that's all the.
It seems to be that by the use of the letter of the law, they are busy with a sort of witch hunt, actually against the spirit of the law. Don't you think?
Well, of course. What is crazy? What's absolutely crazy is that these doctors, they treated patients that were helped, right? These patients were in early stages of COVID-19, and they got ivermectin or they got hydroxychloroquine, and it helped the patients. So hardly any patients were transferred to the hospital. I mean, you knew at that time when you were transferred to the hospital, you had a big chance to die, right? Because of the protocols inside the hospital. So they were prevented from going to the hospital, and they recovered. So that's the crazy part. So they help patients, right?
Do you recognize this, Ivana? Is it the same in Croatia?
Yeah, I think that everybody is reading the same scenario, but we do not use like court cases. Croatian Medical Chamber in Croatia is appointed to do this to medical doctors, because I think that in Croatia we are much more walking around the world with our eyes open, and the publicity in our nation will not allow to make some prosecutions to the medical doctors. So they are using Croatian Medical Chamber. This is some kind, let's say, court for ethical medical ethics and deontology, and they just say you are not ethical and so on. But they are threatening our doctors also to take their licenses off and disable them from work and so on.
And are you being threatened as well?
No, but I provoked them.
You provoked
I provoked them because it was almost necessary in some instances. Because last year I was trying to asking from Croatian Parliament. We have health committee for health and social policy, and I was asking them because of the data I collected, and I see anomalies in excess deaths and in cancer and the other diseases. That's why I was submitted my data to my hospital for the quality assurance department. They never reacted. Then I was talking in Croatian Academy of Science and Arts last year in June, and nobody reacted. Then I was talking in Croatian Parliament. I was invited from one political party there. They made a round table in June, month after they declared the health emergency situations is finished. Mm-hmm. We tried to investigate all things that happened during pandemics, and the Croatian Parliament voted this year in autumn not to do this. But now we have some other circumstances. On last Saturday, they put in jail our Ministry of Health for some bribery, but this is not directly connected to pandemic. But if you have something like this, you can imagine what could happen during pandemics, when you have to buy, for example, medical equipment, and we have decisions, for example, that if you have to buy something up below the 5 million of kunas, you can just drop down with some medical equipment and buy something and put the money in your pocket. So it's very suspicious.
This Minister of Health,
yes,
which is accused, a kind of corruption case.
Yes, this is
but do you think maybe it's a distraction, that he's a kind of scapegoat?
Well, if it's a scapegoat, I think it was done by surprise, because he was surprised because it happened on Saturday. He didn't have opportunity to step down from the position, because it would be, and this is my opinion, for him to defend himself easier. But now the government has a big problem, because Croatian investigators are searching for this corruption, investigating, and also EPPO. So they are fighting each other, Europe and Croatia. They cannot decide who is going to investigate this.
Okay, yeah. We will see.
We will see. It will be interesting.
Ivana, you are a pathologist. Can you explain for the layman what do you do as a pathologist?
Oof. There are a lot. Usually they say that we make some guesswork out of insufficient data that we received, but usually we make some biopsies. These are live people that, for example, go to hospital, perform gastroscopy, colonoscopy, or have some large surgery. All this tissue come to pathology department, and then we embed it in some paraffin blocks, and we investigated this under the microscope. This is one part, and we prepared this pathology report for oncologists. So the clinician needs this report to make decision how to treat after that if there is some malignant tumor. So after surgery you have to have appointment with your oncologist, but pathologist is behind the scene. Usually patients do not see us, but we are very important for the clinicians and for the surgeons and for the oncologists, just to follow up all the patients. So we are in the team, but we are not visible.
Okay, and do you also do autopsies?
Yes, autopsies. Yeah, this is the second part of. I'm also a coroner. Not every pathologist is coroner, but I also do this, and this is usual time, the usual job.
So what do you see as a pathologist? What do you see? Let's say in your pathology experience, since the rollout of the mRNA vaccines, because that's the critical point now. Is there an effect of the mRNA vaccines on what you see as a pathologist?
You can see it as a physician in a hospital. So in the first month since the vaccines were rolled out, so we are talking about January, first half of January in 21. Yeah, you can see the cars with sirens, emergency. They were just running on an emergency department, and lots of them died. We didn't have, at that time, we didn't have a centralized system to see who is vaccinated, who is not, but they already asked every patient when they admitted them to hospital, are you vaccinated or not, because they already knew. And then in, I think it was in March, April 21, it was obvious that we have increased number of people who died, and that there was some they already start to administrate vaccines to younger population, younger age groups. They also reacted the same way like all the ones. So I'm talking about 65 plus. And then when they started to administrate vaccines to younger population, the result was almost the same. Then we have, I think, 138% more people died, admitted to hospital and died in comparison to 2020, when you had actually a pandemic.
A plus of 38%?
Yeah, 38%, yeah. Okay. Plus of 38%, it is
all
huge.
Age groups?
All age groups.
Yes.
But mainly it's 18 plus if you count, but Then you can see all kinds of different diseases, but mainly it was cardiovascular diseases. So thrombosis, strokes, myocardial infarcts, and so on.
Yeah. So that was, let's say, the more direct effect of the vaccine, possibly. So that,
possibly, yeah.
But then now we're a couple of years later, and you've been looking at cancer data,
yeah.
right? And of course, cancer is of course the big taboo, right? Nobody wants to touch it with a yardstick. But you're a pathologist, and you just look at data, right? You look at slides.
I don't blame my colleagues, never, because sometimes I think they feel that they don't have enough knowledge to cope with all these problems and to cope with this giving names like anti-vaxxer and so on. So it's very difficult. You have to. So I've given my Hippocratic oath to you, to people, not to the institutions. So when you as a pathologist see some anomaly, you have to respond, you have to report it, and you have to try find the team to find out the answer. Why is this happening? So if you have the population in hospital, my hospital is rather big, it's university hospital, it's almost a statistical sample of a country. We are about 3.8 million. So we are very small country, very small nation, and we are genetically equal. So if you do not start to stress your cells, to give some other treatment, to give some vaccination, there should be any disturbance in dying, in excess mortality, and so on, in excess of some diseases, or increased number of cancers, or even decrease in the age groups. So it is very important. So you have to see, just to collect data and just to see the absolute numbers. This is enough. This is the signal.
And you decided to collect data
since 2020.
And how
since 2020,
you decide to collect data, and what makes you so special that you do that? Because I do not hear so much about other people doing it.
Oh, it happens in 2019, because in the last quarter of 2019, I saw the increased number of people who were admitted to hospital and died.
Already in 2019?
Already in 2019, something was happening, especially in November and December, and some of my colleagues said, okay, this is a flu season, but it was not usual flu season. Mm-hmm. Then I said, okay, I have to collect. So I collect data for last quarter of 2019 just to compare.
What was unusual about this flu season then?
Number of admissions to hospital and respiratory symptoms.
So higher than normal.
It's like we call it some interstitial pneumonia. Lots of people who die were admitted to hospital, but they put them on respiratory department. So for the lung diseases, and they just signed out this patient when patient died like interstitial pneumonia or something like that. So when as a coroner, you have to go through all these medical records in the hospital. Even if you need, you can see electronic medical records, because we can go in the system, centralized system, to see everything. So. Something was very strange. So it was last quarter, and then I said, okay, I have to compare everything. Then I compare flu seasons from 2007 to 2019, and there was something strange. So it's like it started to behave almost like in 2009 when it was the swine flu. It was the same pattern.
Same pattern.
Yeah. So for me it was strange, and then I said, okay, wait a minute, we are going to collect data, and then I started. In 2020 I have all data from people who died, so I have lots of data that I'm following, but and when they start to administer these vaccines, it was obvious that something is going on. You at least you can connect with the administration of vaccines, that you have increased number of people who were admitted to hospital, and some of them fortunately died.
And have you seen an increase in all-cause mortality?
Yes.
And since when?
since mid of January 21. Yeah.
Since mid-January 21.
Yeah, it's like in first 15 days you can see the move. Yeah.
So since the vaccine rollout.
Yeah. I think they roll out in Croatia in December 27, something like that. In December 27, 2020. So.
But in Sarajevo in October, last October, you gave a lecture.
Yes.
And I've seen it. It was mostly about oncology, about cancer.
Cancers, yeah.
An increased rate of cancers.
Yeah.
And can you tell something about it?
Yeah, it happens that you have a regulatory agency that is calculated all medicines that you are applying. So what in 2020 the total calculation that they spent on treatment around 9 billions of Croatian kunas, and in last year 11 billions. So it was too much. If we are healthier, if what it was safe and effective, then you do not spend much more money.
So the spending increased about 10%.
Yeah, it's about 10%. And then when I saw it by the end of 21, I saw that we have they made report that there is 32% increase of administration of one drug. It was Keytruda. This is not generic name, but it's manufacturer's name. This drug they are using for metastatic cancer. Mm-hmm. So I started following cancers because it was obvious that something happened, and in 21 you didn't have a increase in total number of newly diagnosed cancers. But if you use this drug 30% more in the year where you do not have enough cancers, then what is going on? The people who were well followed up as a cancer and so on, it could happen that they have this is the metastatic cancer of people who were cured out of cancer. They got this is recidivation of the cancer. So I was very worrying, and then I decided to follow up this in 2022 to see do we have some changes in age groups. Mm-hmm. So then we still do not have the total number for 2022. I don't know why they need so much time. We are now in almost the end of 24, but they say that we have around 27,000 in 2022 newly diagnosed cancers in whole population. So mm-hmm. It's from 0+ to the old age, and in 21 we had around 25,000. So it is increasing, and I think that I was following this group of people of 55 and younger, and I compare them to the share of this population that was administered the vaccines. Mm-hmm. So if there is no interference in your genome, in your cells, in your how the cell is working, the share of it should be the same. The share of administered vaccines almost should be equal to the share of people who took the vaccine and been diagnosed with cancer. So it mm-hmm. is not matching. So. These are just absolute numbers in comparison, and nothing it was matching.
So Ivana, so you worry that the increase of cancers in especially the 55 years and younger could be related to the vaccine rollout, because you see it more happening in the vaccinated versus unvaccinated, and that's a signal. I mean, it's not proof, it's a signal, but do you see in your own, let's say, pathology practice in the tissues, in the cancers, in the individual cases, do you see that happening? How does that look for the patient?
Oh, for the patient, so we have now about the age groups 40, 45, maximum 45 to 50. When they arrive to hospital, lots of them, they are stage 3. Stage 3 means that this cancer is moving and at least it metastasized locally. So it is very difficult then to treat this kind of person. You have to decide, do you want, if you are going to give them oncology treatment before or to perform surgery right away. And it happens that some of people who were vaccinated only once in those age groups that I was following, 55 and younger, I found that one group is, they received only 1 dose of this product. It doesn't matter, was it viral vector or messenger RNA. It happens that they've been diagnosed with cancer within 6 months after the administration. So it started to worry me. At least we should investigate why is this.
Yeah. So how can you do that? Because you're a pathologist, you have techniques. So
my techniques.
How would you follow this up in those patients?
I don't know. They just decided this year that they are going to make exams for all people who are 40 and 40 plus. So for everybody, they are going to make them regular exams by GPs and so on. They have to answer why they just picked up this 40 plus. Because if you see the estimation of newly diagnosed cancers for 22-23 and probably mortality incidence, it should be declining, not just to be so alarming data. They need to be regularly checked by their GPs. Yeah. So something is strange.
Right. But you know, I'm a molecular biologist, so I think in terms of molecules. So I thought, so if you suspect that these cancers, these rapidly growing cancers, have something to do with the vaccination, then you could maybe check for the spike protein, maybe you could check for DNA integration, or maybe it's just an immunology effect, right? Yeah. So maybe there's also tools to study that. So in those terms, are there possibilities in your hospital?
I do not have immunohistochemistry for spike and for nucleocapsid, for example. But it could be so. If I ask, we can, for example, we can order it to. I have just to explain why do we need it. This is the first thing. So I will have to fight in next month or two.
Why do you need to fight?
Because they said that I need to prove, because of the budget, so I need to prove why do we need this immunohistochemistry. So we do a lot, but we have something. We can use some other antibodies just to prove that we have a high grade of proliferation of the cells and so on. So it's possible. It's possible to do the other way, to enter through the small doors. Yeah. And if so, we were talking about the doubling time of tumor growth. So you can check this way. So when you compare people who were vaccinated and who were not vaccinated, if you have data, for example, they performed small biopsy and after that they decided to perform surgery, and you see within 2 or 3 months that this tumor is rapidly growing. We call it tumor doubling growth rate. Usually we know for every tumor if there is usual growth rate. We can plan the procedure, treatment procedure, and so on. And here in some patients you cannot predict how these tumors are going to behave. So this is the point that we have to study to pick the person who will benefit the most from this sequencing and from this immunohistochemistry and so on. This is my plan, how I'm going to present to my authority to see much more clearly what is going on.
Okay, but
So
but then the
it's
fight.
very difficult. Yes.
Okay, so but
it is not fight that we are fighting.
No,
so
no,
we
it's
have
not a
to
fight.
present
But the fight, of course, with your colleagues.
Yeah.
I think if you get into the mindset of your colleagues, they will say, well, the chance that these cancers are caused by the vaccine is very, very, very small.
Yeah.
So we don't want to waste precious resources to this like fringe idea that the vaccines could have anything to do with the increase of cancer.
Yeah,
so
we have to rule out the possibility. So we can pilot one small project to rule out the possibility.
Yeah.
If we never rule out the possibility, we will always question ourselves what was happening, and maybe we find out and maybe we discover some other culprit.
Yes, and
that is going on here, and we are not aware of this in our environment. So
and it's not rocket science, right?
No.
Immunohistochemistry against the spike protein is not. I mean,
it's immunoglobulins.
I could do it.
Yes.
Can you explain for the layman about immunohistochemistry?
Immunohistochemistry, that's it has 3 parts. So immuno means you use an antibody to detect a protein in situ, so in a pathological slice. So Ivana takes the sample. Somebody takes a sample of the tumor. It's sliced in thin slices, and then the question is, what's in there? What kind of proteins are in there? Suppose you think, okay, spike protein could be in there. Then you take an antibody against spike protein. You stain it on the slide. And then there's just tricks to visualize this antibody against spike that's colored. So that is the immunohisto part. And then you look under the microscope whether these cells are either positive or negative for spike protein. Of course, you need a positive and a negative control. Yeah. You need nucleocapsid. But it's not very complicated. I mean, any pathology lab in the Netherlands can do it.
So maybe it's important to tell if you have only spike protein that you can be almost 100% sure that is from the vaccine. But if you have positivity for nucleocapsid, then you have to think about the SARS-CoV-2 infection. So these are the differences, but it's very easy. It's very easy.
Research is not being done, but wasn't it logical to start with this kind of research immediately after the vaccine rollout, because there were experimental gene therapy-based vaccinations? I would say you arrange an expertise group with pathologists to very precisely check what's going on in all organs.
Yeah, I think that pathologists should use their power because we are cleaning all the mess all the time. So they're used to it too. When somebody performs something, and then if you perform some autopsy and you find out that something was wrong during some procedure, this is our usual job. So I'm very surprised because lots of pathologists not want to talk, and they don't want to stand up and say, okay, I finished my medical school because of the people, not because of the industry or.
It's very funny that you mentioned that the pathologists are cleaning up, because Professor Burkhardt, Arne Burkhardt, who did a lot of research into people who died after the vaccination and were suspected to be the death, the cardiovascular effects were suspected to be caused by the vaccine. He said that the pathology is the ultimate quality control of healthcare, kind of. Yeah. And he said that notion has disappeared from the pathology. The pathologists, they don't consider themselves anymore like that. They don't want to look at the whole body if there's something wrong, like being a detective. And they just say, it's not our responsibility. It's the responsibility of somebody else to look into this.
Yeah, I attended a yearly meeting of the Foundation for Pathologists in the Netherlands last week. And well, they're asked the question, how do you pathologists see your role regarding adverse effects after vaccination? But it was quiet.
Really?
Yeah. And later on, we spoke with a secretary of the board of this foundation, and he told me, well, he said it's more for the specialism in infectious diseases to do research and not for the pathologist. I thought this is a really strange answer.
Oh, I'm so sad that I was not there, because I will ask one question. If did they notice that they have increased number of biopsies since 21?
Increased number of biopsies since 21.
All kind of diseases.
Yeah,
all kind, not just tumors, but it could be related for other diseases, not tumor pathology. That is very important. So
we must have this data in the Netherlands.
I think
as well,
public health also has this
yeah.
data. So I think you can ask for this data.
But what we see in the Netherlands is that there's no will to reveal data, and actually there are not enough data to do scientific research. What the results.
But this is not forbidden. Nobody forbids me. The same scenario was applied in Croatia, the same one. But you have to act very smart. Actually, I was this chart I was published during the Congress of Pathologists and Cytologists in last year. It's like a scientific poster, because I just want to raise the question, because out of 250 doctors, pathologists and cytologists, I was the only one who had this kind of poster. Everybody talk about some tumors, about some research and so on, but no one wants to see the numbers, just to connect them and say, okay, wait a minute, people, we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. We have to study this. There is no greater possibility that individual who decide to take vaccination accumulate more environmental damaging on the cells than the individual that didn't take vaccine, and more often those people who took vaccines are diagnosed with cancer. So the only conclusion that I had in this scientific poster was that any health institution that is accredited for the pathology, that had a pathology department, should investigate or at least numbers to see how they are standing. Maybe my data is not correct. Maybe they have disapproved my data. I was just asking everybody to disapprove my data. This is the science. Yeah, exactly. Science is not proving anything, because if you have some hypothesis, you have to disapprove your belief.
Yeah.
not proving, just to disapprove. What do you think? So
it's not even being discussed.
I was stating on my scientific poster that I was starting from the hypothesis that there is no differences. This was my statement. There is no. I was trying to investigate that there are no differences between the share of the population that took vaccine and the share of population that was diagnosed cancer in those age groups, and so on and so on. And then I find some differences.
Yes.
And this is my obligation to publish it.
And you, as a cell biologist, Maarten,
it's easy.
Do you have some explanation about how this possible can be that the cancer rates are increasing?
No, so I'm a cell biologist, but I'm also data biologist. So when Ivana talks about these differences in populations, then I immediately think, okay, that's interesting that there's a difference in cancer occurrence between vaccinated and unvaccinated. But then I'm starting to say, well, can there be other explanations for it, right? So I want to disprove.
Yes.
Ivana.
Yes.
So then we should sit together and say, okay, let's look at those populations. They're both young populations, so they have the same age group. Do they have the same age distribution? I don't know, but maybe they have. I don't know whether vaccinated and unvaccinated people have the same lifestyle. Maybe unvaccinated people are much more healthy, or for example, and that. So we should. I mean, that is the way science.
From the start, dialogue should scientific dialogue.
That's
should
dialogue.
Be from the
start,
and
the dialogue.
they just kick them out of the.
That's one. So we should look at the data very carefully and try to disprove this idea. For maybe there's, and then. You have to take the other perspective, go away from the big data and then go to the biology and say, well, could there be a biological explanation? And then I say, there are several possible biological explanations why this particular class of new therapy could be related to increases of cancer, and these are all possibilities. So there's the estrogen receptor activation by spike protein. That's one. So that should influence estrogen receptor tumors, like breast tumors, ovarian tumors. There is so you could easily test that, right? So that's testable. You could look at I mean this whole DNA contamination issue, right? It's very clear that within that's the mRNA, especially the mRNA vaccines, they have a specific DNA contamination that allows the DNA to quickly and very efficiently go into the cell and possibly damage the genome, right? So and that's also a possibility. And then say, okay, if we think that's a possibility, then just let's sequence the hell out of these samples, right?
And that's not so difficult nowadays.
No, that's not so difficult. It's not difficult. So everybody's sequencing everything. I mean, you can go to. I mean, yeah. I'm not saying that my heritage can do this or another for fun. But people can. There are many institutions that can do that. And then, so these are so, and it's being done. I mean, it's being done at certain places. So eventually, it will become clear.
It's being done after 5 o'clock by some critical scientists.
No, yeah, that's true. It will be, but you cannot. I mean, the scientific process works like this. So people are curious. People do things after 5. The nicest. Actually, also for my biggest discoveries were made in the weekend.
Yeah.
Right? After 5. When you really wanted to know.
Yeah.
Right? So people will do that. So it will become clear. I mean, you can there's so much data, so it will become clear. So my advice is to young scientists, go for it. Do these experiments after 5.
Yeah.
And if they are scared that they will damage their career paths, how do you look to this?
Curiosity killed the cat.
But the academic curiosity is depressed. It seems.
No, they're always curious. There's always curious students. There are always curious scientists. So
the truth is the truth.
Yeah.
You cannot hide it. As much as you can censor it, as much as you can. For example, you can play straw man with the scientist and say this is anti-vaxxer and so on. You cannot hide because there is no statistical evidence that's one group of people, smaller group of people can overall to a large group of people. So. And
also the fact that people are reacting so allergically just to this possibility. Of course, it has something to do with the mindset, right? There's some sort of blockade in people's minds But I think this is temporary, and I think the young scientists will eventually find this out, and maybe also a little bit older scientists as well.
No, yeah, this logical part in this is what we are humans, so this logical part always prevail. Sometime, one day,
Yeah, and
you can hypnotize someone to listen you, but after a certain time of no. This is your logical part.
But you also work for a union. Are those unions strong enough to protect critical scientists?
I'm a part of a union. I'm a commissioner in my hospital, but not only for medical doctors, but for the nurses and so on. So, yeah, they can protect you. They asked me last year. They offered me to be a commissioner for my hospital just to protect me, because I already have warning dismissals in my hospital since 21. Mm-hmm. So I was speaking out loud. Never mind. But I was standing in front of my department, telling them that and even I didn't want to get tested, PCR tested, because for me it was rubbish. I was doing this, and I said, this is not a diagnostic test. I will not, and I cannot feed the beast. This was my decision. Then my engineers from the lab, they just go out from the building, and then we've all got the warning dismissal, but we are proud of it.
It's a badge of honor.
Yeah, it's a badge of honor.
I believe we have to finish. Can we finish with a special message from you to your colleague pathologists? How to go forward with this disturbing developments?
I just want to say that they were curious enough at the beginning of their career. That's why they became pathologists, because they are studying morphology of the cells, and they have to bring some solutions for the clinicians. They are trained to do this, they can do this, and people, every individual is accepted. They accept from them to do this, to perform the truth, nothing else.
Okay.
This is it.
Thank you, Ivana.
Thank you.
Bedankt voor het kijken en graag tot volgende week. En steun alsjeblieft de andere kant en Café Weltschmerz met dit mooie werk. Dank u wel.